Yo, yo, what's up, everyone? Today, super excited. We're going to do a video that we think is really practical, really actionable, and is really relevant for those of us who are in a point where we're have high highs and low lows, and we're trying to figure out exactly what the hell do I do with my life. And so I have Iris joining me today. Iris, what's up?
What's up? I'm good.
Well, it's great to have you on camera. For everyone watching, Iris is part of the team here at Sensiphy, and she's one of our other coaches. And I'm super excited to have Iris on camera. Just both of us talking about some of the things that are most important to us and how you guys can use the tools that we found to be most successful in our lives and in our clients' lives and in our heroes and mentors' lives. And so we're just going to talk a little bit about that. So Iris, why don't you start the conversation off just by asking whatever you think would be most relevant for the people watching and how we can support them.
Okay, so I really want to talk about the When Life Works list, like this concept that we have been introduced to by Sean Stevenson, and that we've been using at Sensiphy. So can you explain a little bit what that list is and why we might be interested in it?
Yeah, I would love to. Thank you for asking. And so the short answer is that, well, screw the short answer. The answer that I want to give is that so many of us spend our time working our ass off, and we feel like we're working hard because we're good people, and the harder and faster we work, the more tired and frustrated and hopeless we can become. And so it can get a little bit exhausting to say the least, but after a while, and it's like, what the hell do I do? And another challenge that I know I've had and I know you've had and a lot of people watching can relate to is that we have really high highs and really low lows. And it's like, what do I got to do to create some level of sustainable happiness? Like, what is it? And so the When Life Works list is kind of the antidote to that situation, to the high highs and low lows. And it's basically, what are the things that when you do these things, life works? So go back and look at your life and look at all the times that life has been working, life has been good, life has been fulfilling, and what were the action steps that you were taking on a consistent basis, and you probably didn't even realize you were doing these things and that that's why life was working. But if we go back and we look and we say, what are the things that when I do these things, life works? And we want to list those and start to pay attention to them.
Okay, cool. And like, there's one question that I had when I started hearing about this When Life Works list, and that's how is it different from fundamentals, or like, how do these two relate to each other? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's the same stuff basically. It's really similar. So what I love about the wisdom that we study and that we help pass forward is that there's all these different ideas, but really at the core of it, there so many of them are really similar. So it's the ones that are most powerful. They're just being said different ways, and like people will almost make the analogy to biblical scriptures that like all the religions are really saying the same thing. Like, at the core of it, like be a good person, do the right thing, whatever, whatever. And so I did an interview, as you know, with Sean Stevenson, who is a remarkable individual. Really excited to share that interview with everyone watching in November with our next conference. But in the meantime, what Sean said is when he works with coaching clients, what he does is he helps them create their When Life Works list. And so that's a concept really similar to one that we talk about often that Brian introduced me to and Brian got from Robin Sharma, which is consistency on the fundamentals. So what are the things that when we do these things, we're at our best? And the idea of consistency on our fundamentals comes from all great people have something in common. No matter what they're great in, whether it's in acting or in performing or in coaching or in just work. And the thing that they have in common is they're consistent on their fundamentals. And their fundamentals are just the thing that when they do these things, they're at their best. So for a comedian, it may be like writing a joke every day. For an athlete, it's going to be like training a certain way every day. For someone who's a coach, maybe it's reading a certain amount or doing like having a certain kind of conversations every day. And so what we want to do for everyone watching is we want to get clear on what are the things that when we do these things, we're at our best. And I know that so many of us feel like we're kind of like, is this it? Like we're in life and we're like, is this it? There's got to be something more to life. Like what's next? I'm in this job. It's not exactly where I want to be, but I don't know how to articulate this feeling to myself, no less to somebody else. And I don't know what the hell the next step is. And so here's the counterintuitive thing, Iris, because I know I'm going off on a tangent now from the question that you asked me. But here's the counterintuitive thing, is that we think that when we are successful, then we'll be happy. All right, we think that we're going to work really hard and we're going to put out all these fires that are going on, all the urgent emails. We're going to respond to all these urgent emails and help solve everyone's needs. And when we do these things, then we will be successful. And when we're successful, then we'll be happy. But it's the other way around. It's that happiness leads to success, not success leads to happiness. And it's not just my idea. This leans into the wisdom of positive psychology, and Sean Aker wrote a great book called The Happiness Advantage on it. And the premise of his book is that people who are happier have an advantage because when we're happier, our brain is wired a little bit differently. We become more optimistic. We think more clear. We develop more better connections with people. We're more creative. And so being happy gives us the what he calls the happiness advantage. And what we want to do for everyone watching is we want to help you guys, because it's been such a powerful idea in my life and Iris's life and all of our lives who embody this wisdom. What we want to do is we want to help you guys get really clear on what are the things that when I do these things on a daily basis, my life works. And then treat that like that is the number one priority in your life. And if that includes waking up earlier to make sure that you can do these things on the list, make that the priority. Because when we really, really stick to these things, and Iris may have a question or two about, the theory behind this, perhaps, but when we really, really stick to these things, that's when success comes. That's when the best life comes, is when we put ourselves first and rock this when life works list.
Okay, so basically you're saying that I want to figure out when my life works best, and then I just want to make an effort to do those things consistently because that's what all the great people do. Is that it?
Exactly, yeah. And I know that people who are watching are like, yeah, well, that's great, but you have a life where you get to wake up when you want and you get to do the things that, like, I don't have the freedom to do. But here's the thing. I know that people watching want to have a career that they're passionate about. I know it. I know you want to wake up excited in the morning where you fucking leap out of bed and you're like, OMFG, I get to do this today. And so now is the time where you get to take that back. And we've been conditioned to just like wake up and reflexively jump out of bed, reactively jump out of bed and check Facebook, read the New York Times, start our day, and take in all this information from the outside. And when we do that, we're letting the outside control our world. We're letting the media, we're letting the government, we're letting whatever's happening on the outside really dictate our consciousness, the content of our consciousness. And we want to control that. We want to, like, if you want to create an extraordinary life, you have to be able to control your mind. It's that simple. And when we start our day, there's no more powerful of a way to start our day by saying, I'm going to put all that other stuff to the side for now, and I'm going to like create a list of things to do that one, when I do these things, I'm going to be able to then like show up in the world in a way that will enable me to have the opportunities that I wish I had. But two, that help us wake up excited right now. So like for me, when I worked in my old job, and I kind of really got into this idea of consistency on the fundamentals and having a morning ritual, one of the things that I did was I started watching like comedy first thing in the morning. I would wake up like an hour earlier. I'd meditate for 10 minutes. I'd watch some philosopher's notes. I'd take notes. I would go watch like Seinfeld is like my favorite TV show from when I was growing up here in America. So I would watch that for at least an episode, and I just wanted to start my day like excited. And so for everyone watching, I would encourage all of us to say like, what is my When Life Works list, and how much of that can I do first thing when I wake up to give me a reason to wake up excited in the morning and jump out of bed. So I know I said a lot there, Iris, but help bring that home for us.
Okay. I think one question that I still have is, say I'm still in my job and I'm not entirely sure what the hell I even want to do with my life. And then, like, one problem that people often struggle with and that I struggled with when I had no idea what I wanted to do is that we have these really high highs and low lows. It's like one day we're the king of the world, and then the other day we're like, this, I could never live my dreams. This is impossible. So how you said that in the beginning that this when life works list and fundamentals can really help us with that. So how can that be beneficial to help us have this more sustainable level of happiness?
Cool. For everyone watching, I'm such a fan of Iris. This is so great to have her on camera here. So Iris is the part of the genius mastermind behind the scenes at Sensiphy. So it's great to have her on camera. I hope I make you blush
Thank you.
now. This would be great. Um, cool. So that's great. Thank you for bringing it back home. So to the way that I like to imagine it is that when we look at like if you want to see how high you can build a building, you want to see how tall you can make a skyscraper, the best way to see that, like predict how tall they're going to build this magnificent structure, is to look how far deep in they've dug into the foundation of the building. So in other words, the bigger the building, the deeper the foundation they need to build. And the bigger the life that we want to create, the deeper the foundation that we need to build in our lives. And consistency on the fundamentals, doing the When Life Works list, is the foundation that we use that enables us over the long run to be able to build these magnificent structures. Another analogy that I like to use is like imagine that you walk out into like a meadow and there's all this grass and there's this magnificent tree, and you go and you walk and you stand like right underneath this tree and you just look up and you're like, again, OMFG, this tree, maybe you're on drugs, maybe you're not on drugs, but you're looking at this tree and you're like, this tree is incredible. Look at the complexity of the structure and the roots, and like this tree is incredible. Like this is really like nuts. Again, so you're really admiring this tree, and it's healthy and it's thriving and it's beautiful. And what most of us don't realize is we imagine ourselves standing here where with the tree, and we look up and we see the tree going on over here, and we're standing here. And what most of us don't realize is there's just as a magnificent structure up here, there's just as much of that structure happening in the roots. And there's a complex, intricate system happening below the tree that enables us to be able to, or enables the tree to be able to grow and have the fruit and have the great life that the tree has. And so for all of, like, people look at my life and they're like, oh, Jacob gets to talk to people who are world-class thinkers, who are fascinating, who are interesting, and all that's great. But do you know how much fucking work I put into being able to actually have myself at a place where I can be on a video like this or have conversations with people who have books on my shelf over there? Like, it's a lot of work, but I learned to love the process. You know, I love consistency on the fundamentals, and that would be huge for all of us. I really want you guys to understand that. Don't just judge something by what's happening on the outside. You know, really understand there's a deep, deep root of support that enables these systems for Sensiphy to run as a thriving business the way it does. There's a lot going on, like Iris being behind the scenes. She's part of the fundamentals of our business. She's part of the roots. And so there's a lot there. And so just for the high highs and low lows, fundamentals and When Life Works lists serve as the scaffolding so that we have higher highs and we also have higher lows. And when we do these things, we just can't fall as low as we could if we weren't doing these things. So it's the scaffolding that holds us in place so that we just can't go as low as we could if we weren't rocking our When Life Works list and our fundamentals.
Okay, so you said a lot there, but I think what I'm getting is that if I want to build for myself this life of my dreams, like this, as you said, like this giant tree that's beautiful and everything, I need to have some systems and some foundation in place. And the When Life Works list or fundamentals are like a really big part of those roots for us to be able to show up and actually, you know, grow the leaves or whatever so that we can achieve all that we want to achieve. And then, okay, so that's great. So basically the When Life Works list is what enables us to show up every day and do the work. Is that, would you say that that's one of the main ingredients or the main tools that you've rocked that helped you to like get to this place that you're at right now?
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. So when we do coaching with people, it really comes down to a couple things. One of them is clarity. We want to help people get clarity. What does your ideal life look like? What's most important to you? What are the things that when, if you had this in your life, this is your ideal life, authentically, not based on what you should have, what your family says, what your friends say, what your society says, what your gender says, but really like what's your ideal? So it starts with clarity. But once you have clarity, then comes action. And the way that in the coaching that we do, oftentimes clarity is we help people figure out like what's most important to them, what are their values, and then the action is, okay, well, what are the consistent actions that they need to take on a daily basis to be in alignment and to live those values. And so for the fundamentals, it's huge. Like it's the mundane, not sexy, not glamorous, not superficially, sparkly, all these things. It's not. It's just like, what are the things that society isn't going to reward us for, but we know when we do these things, we're going to be at our best. So for me, one of my fundamentals is meditating every day. I meditate every single day. I don't miss a day. Even if I'm hungover in the morning, I meditate in the afternoon. And it's not often, but it has happened. If I sleep over, at someone else's house or I'm traveling, again, same thing. I make sure I'm meditating every day. Non-negotiable commitment. Same thing for exercise. I'm exercising at least 4 times a week. Just doing it. I know that when I exercise, I can be more clear on a conversation like this. I can provide more value and serve the world in a deeper way. That's another one. And then another one would be my nutrition. And I think those would be like my top 3. One is I would actually say nutrition, really understanding what we're putting into our body because it controls our emotions, it controls our mind. It controls our physical. There's so much going into what we put into our body. So getting really clear on having like a healthy, nutrient-dense, vegetable-based diet for my own preference, but I would suggest people to come to their own conclusion about what their ideal diet looks like and then really honor that. The second I would say is exercise, making sure we're moving every day, having a pretty intense workout at least 3 times a week. And the third would be meditation, which is just like attention training for our mind so that when I'm on this video right now and people are watching and people at home or at the office are watching, that I can keep my train of thought and actually remember what it is that I want to talk about and not completely say like, oh shit, brain fart, what the hell did I even want to say? And the same thing, we all want to talk to our heroes. We want to be around people who inspire us. We want to do these things. But are we doing the work that is required for us to be able to show up at our best? Because I think a belief, Iris, that a lot of us have is that when we get to a certain place, life will be better. So when I leave the job, life will be better, right? When I find my true passion, life will be better. When this happens, life will be better. But the way that it works is when we make life better right now, then we find our passion. Then we get the job. Then we get into the relationship we want. Then we become friends with our mentors and heroes. Then we, create businesses that thrive. And so how we make life better right now is the When Life Works list. And we start with that as the foundation. I think this actually turned out pretty good, Iris, if I'm just kind of going into this like as we're speaking about it. I think this is turning out pretty good. Because I really want to drill in the point that this is all about the foundational stuff and like falling in love with that, falling in love with the process of putting the foundation in place to support all the other cool shit that we want to happen.
Yeah. Okay. So by now I think we all got that rocking our fundamentals is the number one thing we want to start doing when we're figuring out that we, want to make a change in our life to have it be more extraordinary. So what action would you suggest that people take right now that they're like super inspired and really want to grow that awesome tree? Like what can they do right now?
Yeah, so this is awesome. So Sean Stevenson, a friend of ours, when I interviewed him, he framed it as When Life Works. And it's a concept that we've been using, consistency on the fundamentals. But my cat is rolling around in a box over there. So basically, he has an actual list where he writes down like the specific things: exercise, nutrition, keeping his desk area clean, grooming himself, because if you're an entrepreneur and you work from home, sometimes you don't need to shower every day, but making sure he showers every day, eating a certain way, having conversations with his mentors, doing the things that when he does these things, life works. So we created a PDF, totally free. It's going to be linked below this post right now for everyone to be able to fill in their When Life Works list. And that's the idea. Fill it in, and then so there's room for, I'd say, like maybe 10 to 15 things on that list. And what we want to do is we want to fill all those things in and then aim to do like at least 5 of them a day. If you have a day where you're doing at least 5 of those, you're going to be really good. Don't worry about doing every single one of them. And then we've also laid it out so that it's like Sunday through Saturday, and that you can actually mark in which things you do on which day. So if you see that you've like done the entire week and you haven't done this one thing, like, I don't know, call your mom, and like that's your on your When Life Works list or whatever it is, that you can actually see like, oh, I've actually been neglecting this thing. Let me check that off. And then I would also suggest for everyone, you could do it on your computer. It's clickable, the PDF, or you could print it out. Put it somewhere where you're going to see it first thing every morning. So if it's on your desktop on your computer, or you open it the night before and put it on your computer, or you print it out and you put it on your keyboard or on your pillow so that you literally can't start your day until you see this list. I would say to do that, and then just check off. Look at the list. Okay, this is what I'm going to do today, and then check the things off. And then at the end of the day, just rate your day. Like on a 1 to 10, this is how I felt today. So I felt like a 9, and holy shit, no coincidence, I did 7 things on my When Life Works list. Next day, at the end of the day, you rate your day. You know, it's a 4, and you're like, I only did 3 of those things on my When Life Works list. And then it just helps to understand, like, no more high highs and low lows. It's like, oh, I get what's happening here. I see why that's occurring.
Okay, cool. So I think that's a wrap. Like one thing, after people have like filled out their When Life Works list, we'd love to know about it. Like we really love to see what you come up with or what makes you feel at your best, and just see what other people in Sensiphy have as on their When Life Works list, because it's really funny or like really entertaining to look at other people's list and think about whether or not that would be something that you'd love to start rocking in your own life.
It's huge, yeah. So for everyone, if you guys can leave a comment below the post and let us know what are the things that when you do these things, life works. And also if you had a biggest takeaway from the video, drop that below. And like me and Iris are envisioning the entire community of people just listing like what are the things that when they do, it works. And then all of us being able to be inspired by that and to be able to say, oh, you know what, I think I'll try that on my list. And so here is a way that you guys can be of service to the world, is just by dropping a comment and letting us know. Iris, anything else?
No, I think we talked about everything.
Okay, cool. Well, if you guys love this chat and you want to join us on the Inner Circle, we have conversations every Tuesday, 5 o'clock Eastern Time, that are recorded, where we go deep into this kind of conversation, Q&A, and you get to hear what other people are going through. I'm most excited about that right now. So for everyone who's interested in joining, it's $25, super cheap. And will, if money is an issue, just let us know and we'll figure something out. So thank you guys so much for joining us, and we will talk soon. Peace.